Hi everybody, Brad here from Bright Music Center, NAMM Show Day 3, and we're in the exciting Line 6 booth here. We got some awesome things to show you. I got my friend Andy here, one of our Line 6 specialists, who would love to tell you about a very new product they're launching here called the Line 6 Pod Go. How you doing, Andy?
Doing good, man. How's the show?
Awesome, having a great time.
Awesome. So Pod Go basically is a return to the roots of what Pod was. You know, if you think back into the late 90s, early 2000s, the three basic ideas around Pod were that it's easy to use, it's a simple interface, that it sounds great, and that it's easy to throw and grab in a back, for your backpack, and you can take it with you wherever you need to go, whether it's a gig or a lesson or some sort of session. So with Pod Go, we're basically returning to that idea. So when you take a look at it, you'll notice it's pretty small, it's pretty lightweight, it's an easy, simple signal flow. So it has a serial signal path. So if you don't need parallel routing or multiple amps or multiple cabs, this is the product for you. But it is 2020, and obviously Line 6 has made a lot of advances in modeling over the last 10 years since the last pod we released. So it is using the models from the HX model set. There's a couple that we couldn't fit just due to space limitations, but all of the models and sounds from the effects are actually coming straight from the HX family of products, with exception of 3. And there's other things that are fairly new to the industry in the last 5 years, things like a color screen, things like foot switches that have colors to them so you know what they're doing. So we did add all that stuff, and because we wanted this to be a pure standalone unit, you don't need to connect it to anything else to get the sound you're looking for. You'll notice that we do have an expression pedal on here as well.
Very nice upgrade, and even just from the display here, wow, the colors are very vivid, very vibrant. Looks like everything really syncs well together.
Yeah, and that was really the genius of our design team in taking a lot of the things we've learned with some of our other product families like Helix and HX and trying to make this a super sleek, easy-to-use machine. Do you want to go through a couple things?
Yeah, let's see some.
All right, so starting off, when you take a look at it, you're going to see the serial signal path here. There are going to be 5 blocks that are always going to exist. So, for example, volume, wah, amplifier, cabinet, or impulse response. Some people like to load impulse responses, so we made sure that we could do that here. An EQ and the effects loop will always be on no matter what. So they're already in the signal flow. You can turn them off, but you can't get rid of them or substitute other things for them. So that's basically going to leave us 4 blocks that we can do whatever we want with, and we can move them wherever we want as well. So right now it's in a preset mode. So right now it's just going to call up presets. So like when I'm hitting these, you'll notice that it's red because it's ABCD. So red means preset basically. But if I hit this mode button, when I do that, now it's actually jumping me into a different view. So the colors will coordinate with the effect. And this is the same color scheme we've been using since 1998. So green is delay, blue is modulation, and so on. If you're familiar with our products, this will be pretty familiar. So now you'll notice if I want to turn something on or off, I can do that. So it's going to give me the color code here, but then up here, if I want to see what it actually is, it's telling me there. If I want to see what's going on in the signal flow a little bit closer, I can hit this view button up here. And now it's actually running me into the signal flow view. So if I want to move something, so for example, some people like to have a volume pedal in front of the amp where it's controlling like a volume knob on a guitar. Sure. That's one way you can do it. Or if you think of high gain players sometimes like to have full gain, they just want to be able to control the overall volume of so for example, if I want to move my volume pedal, I can use this encoder here, go over to volume, hit action, it'll lift it up, and now I can move that maybe post amp, and then I can drop it. So
super cool.
So any block can be moved wherever you want it, but there will be some blocks that are always there. And this is really meant for people who are maybe new to modeling, and to them, building a signal flow maybe is a little, intense for them. Right. So we kind of made it simpler for that end user. And even if you know what you're doing and you maybe come from amps and pedals and you don't want all this crazy openness, it kind of is going to slot that for you. So if we want to take a look at all the presets, so for example, if I'm going to go back to this button, if I just press this, I'm going to see my preset list. There's about 128 presets already dialed in for people, traditional amp rigs, things like old school American stuff, high gain stuff, chimey stuff. It's already dialed in for people with the effects you would expect to go with that. There's going to be a bunch of cool artist presets, and then there's also some song-based presets. So if you don't know what a plexi should sound like, you can go find like the Heartbreaker preset. Exactly.
What's one of your favorite presets?
Oh, geez, it's hard for me to pick one because I actually write some of them, so I don't want to toot my own horn. But some of the Line 6 stuff, the Line 6 models, like we've got our cartographer, the original cartographer amp over here that we designed. To me, those are some of my favorites. Are actually kind of like the mixtures of multiple things. It could be kind of cool.
Oh, very nice, cool.
But also, you'll notice in this preset list, if I want to jump over here into the user bank, now I just press that, and what's going to happen is I have a completely open list. So this is what a blank preset looks like. So you'll notice it still has volume, wah, amp, cab, or IR, and EQ, and then there's also the effect loop. So there is an effect send and return here that will always be on. So you can't get rid of that stuff. But if there's a specific pedal that you really like that you can't live without, and maybe we didn't model it yet, you can actually put it in there and then just use that as the on-off for that.
Cool. Very cool.
So do you want to take a look at the back of the unit?
Yeah, let's take a look at the back.
I'm going to unplug this real quick. So, like I was saying before, the basic idea here was to make it as plug and play as possible, and we've done a lot of discussions with our end users, especially from the Pod family, to find out what they really used and what they didn't use, because obviously we don't want to overwhelm people with stuff that they're not really going to use most of the time. So when you take a look at this, it's going to be an instrument input, obviously guitar or bass. We have an external expression pedal, or you can have a foot switch, like the FS6, I believe it is.
Right.
For if you want to add a couple extra foot switches, you can do that. There's a lot of outside products that can do that for you. There is an effects loop, so you can add an external expression pedal, or if people like doing what's called 4-cable method, where they're running it with a traditional amp, they can do that. You're going to notice 2 1/4-inch main outs. These are TRS, so if you want to pigtail it to XLRs or to a DI box, you can go to front house. There is an amp only, so this is meant to go to a traditional amp, either in the front or in the power amp input. And there's a headphone jack. USB, which you can edit on your computer, or you can load your IRs, and that's it. So you'll notice things like XLR output jacks, L6 link, Variax input. Those were jacks that are really fun and cool, but that's not really who this customer's for. And you'll notice there's no MIDI because, for example, when we've talked to end users, very few people using pods actually integrate with MIDI. So for them, it's like we didn't want to give them something that they don't really need.
Right.
And if somebody needs any of those things, we have HX and we have Helix that they can look at as well.
Well, I think that's a great, light, sleek. It's got all the right features, very super user-friendly, very color-coded options that really make this an easy toy for anybody, and for the next guy up, makes it a pro pedal to jump on stage and be going after the crowd with. So I appreciate Andy here. Thank you so much. Brad from Bright Music Center. Stay tuned for more to come.